Hey YouTube. Testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it looks like we're live. Hey Flynn, welcome to the stream. Let's let a few people get in and we'll start talking about my subject tonight. I smell dinner cooking, so I'm probably not going to run much more than an hour this evening. I'm pretty hungry and it smells really good.
Tell them what it is.
My wife has made sauce and homemade sauce and homemade meatballs, so that's going to be weighing heavily on my mind the whole time we're doing this stream. I just snagged a background to put in a little bit of my tank. Hey Rob. Hey Bonks. Hey Laura, Jamie, Jason, Sharon. Okay, Sharon, hop on a plane. Yeah, homemade meatballs are hard to beat. Hey, turquoise aquarist, Abby. Okay, guys, so tonight what I'd like to talk about, Sergeant, is where to get fish. And this is a subject that everyone goes through. Hey, Dank. Hey Jason, as you become more and more accustomed to this hobby, as you begin to get to know more people in the hobby, and in that sense I mean people in the real world as opposed to the online world, you start finding out where other people get fish. You start finding out how other people get fish. Yep, Bonks, home breeders are an excellent place to get fish. And back when I first started in the hobby, we only had a couple of options. And one of our options was our local fish stores, which thankfully at the time in the area I was in, hey, Amphibian and Fish Channel. The area and time I was in was really excellent. There were some excellent fish stores in my local area in Dallas when I really started ramping up my hobby. And one of the other options was to join a fish club and go to their meetings, and fish clubs will often have auctions afterwards. You can get to meet other breeders in your area or your fairly local area. Yeah, that's Lizzie, my tiny Maine Coon cat. She's got Maine Coon in her. She's also a rescue cat. So you can go to fish club meetings and hit the auctions afterwards, or you can talk to the other people in your fish club and find people that are breeding whatever specific fish it is that you're interested in or that you want to get to know, And the third place that we could find fish was at conventions. And you really need to open your ears up and network with other people. Hey, Victor, welcome to the stream. You need to network with other people so that you know who's breeding what, who's just had a spawn, and those sorts of things. And fish conventions are a great way to do that. You can go to a fish convention and meet hundreds, if not thousands, of people that have the same exact mindset that you have as far as it goes for fish. So I will always recommend that you, one, join local clubs, two, support local fish stores, even if it's the big box store, because you never know when you're going to need something, and your big box store may be the only place to get it. And I think it's worthy to support them for that, even if their care of fish is really bad. But there is a hidden place to get fish involved with conventions. Usually conventions are set up in a big hotel. Lots of people come into town, lots of people get rooms, and a great many of them will bring fish, hard goods, plants with them to those shows. And to me, my experience of events, aquarium events, shows like the Chicago Experience, like the Ohio Cichlid Extravaganza, half the fun or 2/3 of the fun for me is going from room to room and looking at the stock and the available fish in those people's hotel rooms. And that is an excellent place to pick up stock. The prices are usually good, and you get some wide and varied stock available. Okay, so those were the three ways that we could get fish back in the 80s and the 90s. You either networked with local fish people and knew they were breeding and just had a spawn and got stuff. You went to club meetings and either got from the auction or from the people that you met there, or you went to a conference or an event and could get fish in the auctions at the events, and also people selling from their hotel rooms. But now there is a whole new, Laura, that's exactly where I'm going right now. Now there is a whole new area open to us, and that is online fish buying. And I think it's a topic that we really need to talk about, that we need to share experiences with other people. A lot of my videos are unboxings from different places online. And the beauty of knowing a local breeder, Matthew, I'm sure if you really look, you'll find one. And you also have the opportunity to start one yourself. And I would recommend that anyone that can't find anything within 100 miles of them think real hard about starting their own fish club. Where was I? Online fish shopping. I have bought 6 different times, just since I've restarted keeping fish again. And I have had an excellent experience with it. I know a lot of people are highly suspect of buying online, and that's a good thing because you need to be suspect. You need to get to know. Thanks, Abby. Hey, Jim. I thought you'd be on your way to Lucas's house. I have had mixed results in the availability of fish. In other words, I've ordered fish and then they came back and said, wait a minute, we don't have all of those right now. You'll have to either pick another fish to add to this to equal the amount that you've spent. And that was from the wet spot. But the wet spot sent me excellent wild caught and local bred fish. Awesome, Jim. You be careful driving, man. The weather's not really friendly out there for driving right now, and there's all kinds of idiots on the road out there, so you be careful, man. We want you to get there safely and get home safely. So, I thought that it would be interesting for us to go through a little list that I've prepared of people online that sell fish stock. And I think it's important to get to know, hey Kyle, yeah, Joel, we are like an international fish club, and I think that is excellent, that our fish family is growing and encompassing more people and more localities. I think that when I was in the hobby back in the day, and I would think about buying something from a local fish breeder, I always kind of wanted to get to know that local fish breeder. I always kind of wanted to see how their tanks looked. And I'm not talking about clean, I'm talking about how their fish were thriving. And that is difficult when you're talking about online fish store. Yeah, that's Lizzie, my cat, Joel. So, it's difficult to get to know someone personally. Like, let's take an example here. Eric Bodrock. And I've got a little link and the name for Eric Bodrock. His selling name is All Oddball Aquatics, and I would highly recommend this seller. And I think many of you have gotten to know him by videos by Rob, Luke Diesel, by videos from Corey, by videos from Jim, by videos from Lucas. I think a lot of people have gotten to know Eric Bodrock a lot better through videos of him and his collection of fishes that he sells from. I have bought my Teleocyclas, which are indeed in this background video. They're pretty small here because this was pretty early on when I'd first gotten them, this footage. And I have studied Eric Bodrock for quite a while. Kyle, I haven't. I really don't buy killifish, and I recognize the name, but I'll get to aquabids after a bit. Let's go through these ones I selected, and then we'll get to the others. Because throughout this stream, after I get through running my local, the ones that I've picked out to try to talk about this evening, I really would like to see others talk about local to them if they're in other parts of the world. I know we've got people from Australia. I know we've got people from Europe. And they can offer, if we get Chaz in here, we'll have someone from Peru. They can offer recommendations and talk about their local fish sellers too. Yeah, Rob, I'd love for you to think about if you've bought online from people and talk about your experience of it. I mean, it doesn't have to be a 20-minute dissertation. Let's just kind of run through them as after I go through the ones that I've got set up, because these are ones that I've either had experience with or met the people myself. Hey RFB, welcome to the stream. So we're talking about all oddball aquatics and Eric Bodrock. I have, of course, spent a great deal of time looking for fish in my specific want list online. So I've studied quite a bit of these people, and I would always recommend that you research out who you're going to buy online from and see what the reaction of other people is to the fish that they get and the quality and conditioning of those fish. So I have kind of studied the history of Eric Bodrock. He has been in the hobby forever. Welcome RFB. This is a great community online, so I'm sure you will find many friends here. And any friend of Jim's is a friend of ours. Eric has had live fish stores. He has been a private breeder. He has done it all, basically. It's like Corey retires from aquarium co-op and goes into private breeding. That's kind of the story with Eric. Only Eric has been around forever and knows the real ins and outs of this hobby in a way very few people do. And I've rarely seen anyone have bad things to say about the fish that they bought from Eric. So what I'm trying to do here is show you how you can search out the history of someone online who you're buying fish from in the same way that you would research a local breeder that you wanted to buy from. Now, of course, you can't go to their tanks except through video and personally examine the fish and see what the conditions are. But I think it's possible these days online to even search out and understand someone being able to buy, that you're wanting to buy fish from. And I think Eric is an excellent example of someone who is an extremely good fish keeper and really is worth you looking up, especially if you're looking for something out of the ordinary. Laura asks, would you buy from someone with no reviews on selling fish in particular if you couldn't source that fish elsewhere? Well, Laura, you'd be pretty much rolling the dice. Without any kind of reviews, without any kind of name recognition, you're going to have an issue with that. It's going to be a problem to really know where you're getting. And then it's up to you, because it depends on how much money you're going to plop down. If you're going to buy a $400 fish from someone that's never had a review or never sold the fish in the local fish selling place that you're buying from, I would tend to shy away from that. I just can't afford to lose that much money. Now, if you're buying $10 worth of fish, then sure, give it a shot. Quarantine the fish when they come in, and if it turns out badly, you'll know not to go there again, or you'll get a chance to see how that online fish seller helps you out in that case. Okay, let's go to another online place. And in these, I'm mostly doing people that I've either seen a great deal of or know a great deal about. And Greg Sage is another person that has been in this hobby forever, that dedicates his time and basically his life to this hobby. So when you're dealing with someone like that who has had success for years and years and years and been a steady source of excellent fish, I think that it's okay. I think you can say, you know what? If I buy fish from Greg Sage, I'm going to get excellent fish that are in excellent health, and I may pay a little more for it, or I may pay a little less, depending on the seller. But in this case, it's well worth it. And I think Greg Sage also covers some outliers. He does a lot of live bearers. He's an expert on live bearers. Hey, KZ. So Greg Sage would be another one. Now, I have not bought personally from Greg Sage because a lot of the stock he carries is stuff that in my 3 tanks I can't really get yet because, in my opinion, they don't belong with what I've got. But I would definitely recommend Greg Sage without any hesitation as someone to buy online from. And anybody that's had any personal experience buying from Greg Sage, you should speak up if you can. And I do believe that Sashimi Whiskey has. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And this is Mark Chen. And not many of you will probably recognize Mark Chen, but he runs Discus Origins. And his site, or I think his business is changing over to Ocala Aquariums. Yep, there you go. You've got a testimonial from Jim about Greg's fish. Mark Chen is someone that you're going to find at the Ocala Aquariums site, Discus Origins, and he is someone who has a Facebook presence as well. Mark Chen is a doctor, and his fish keeping hobby got so big that he needed a warehouse, and he finally began to import so many fish that he started selling. He has an excellent quarantine procedure that he goes through. I have bought 2 wild-caught L260s from Mark. I pestered the crap out of him. Hey, Dead Boy, New York City. I think that Mark Chen, Discus Origins, is an excellent person to check his stock continuously to see what he is bringing in. He brings in rays, he brings in monster fish, and Kyle, you talking about Discus Origins? I can personally recommend Mark Chen and Discus Origins. Yeah. So if you've had experience ordering from and buying from Discus Origins, I mean, each of these people has their own niche that they fill as far as what kind of fish. Oh, Greg Sage. Yes. Excellent testimonial for Greg Sage. Jim, I saw him. He posted. He said hello. Okay, well, let's move on. This person is a legend in the fish keeping community. He's someone that I have not bought from yet, but I think that eventually I will get around to him. Jeff Rapps is one of the most excellent fish keepers and importers that many people rave about Jeff Rapp's fish. Now, some of them are expensive and very rare. You can get some of the rarest fish that are imported into this country from Jeff Rapps. And I would highly recommend that people keep up with his. He updates about every week, and it's just a who's who of rare cichlids, catfish, and fish from all over the world, but specifically South America and Central America. Plus, he has plenty of local breeders that feed him fish for sale, and Jeff Rapps comes with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval in every direction that I have ever seen. I would not hesitate to recommend at the drop of a hat buying from Jeff Rapps. And if you read his lists, you will learn stuff just from reading that man's sale list. And that's an excellent thing to do, is to study lists of fish from sellers you respect and watch what they import, watch when they import it, watch who is feeding them locally bred fish. You can learn a whole lot about this hobby just by simply doing that. And I'm steadily walking you through an entire list here. And I'll put this list in the description when this thing comes up live. So Jeff Rapps is a grade A recommendation. Here is another recommendation. I've never bought fish from these people. I know they went under not too long back. I guess maybe what they did was reorganize themselves. But they have some of the most remarkable imports as well. It's I don't know the people personally or through the internet very well. I have had some communication with them, and the communication was always honest, open, and right to the point, which is something I respect. A lot of people don't like a lot of lollygagging around when you're talking about buying their fish. Hey Bob, we're talking about online stores. Places where you can buy fish online and experiences that people have had. Because you just deleted it, Jim. I'll go back after the stream and undelete him. So, Freshwater Exotics is a great place to look to see what they've got coming in. And here is another one. I do not know this guy from any place But yeah, Jim, you worry about driving, not modding. I only know this guy from his listings on Aquabid, and he lists some pretty interesting fish, and he seems to be fairly capable. I think his name on Aquabid is Snookums. And no, you banned him, Jim. I'll fix it later. Okay, I can't really tell you too much about that guy, but I think it's worthy of looking up. And here's a guy that I think you all know and love. And I don't think he needs too much introduction. I wish he were here to speak for his own store. But Lucas Bretz is someone who I highly respect. I've learned an incredible amount from him. I've watched video after video of his tanks and his keeping methods. And I think that Lucas Bretz is worthy of your trust and your money if you are interested in shrimp or the fish he keeps. Kevin, I think you will be overjoyed with your order. I think Lucas is one of the most remarkable online fish sellers that I've run across in quite a while. He is not someone who follows the normal drumbeat. He is his own man. He does things in his own way. He experiments. He's willing to step outside the envelope. And he's willing to push the box. But he has some remarkable stuff online. Now, he tends to hoard his own stuff because he's a hobbyist just like we are. So you have to catch it when it's available and snatch it up real quick before he decides not to sell them. And another person that I think bears watching and following and buying from is our own Sergeant Tank. Sergeant Tank is, I feel like I know Sergeant Tank better than I know most people in the fish keeping hobby. I've followed him and his family all over the country from fish room to fish room. And I think that as his tanks expand, which I'm almost sure they will, I think, yes, Greg Sage has some great videos up. I think that Sergeant Tank is worthy of your trust and worthy of your dollars as well. And I think Jeremy was here. I'm not sure if he's here now to speak on his own behalf, but I don't think many of you will not know who he is. Okay, so let's get into some of the other possibilities here. And these are, I have not bought from Mike at Imperial Tropicals, but I've met the man in person and I've spoken to him, and I think several people here have met him. Hey, King Lee, welcome to the stream, man. We're discussing online fish buying in general, but online fish buying. Mike runs a fish farm in Florida, and sometimes fish farms can be kind of a puppy mill-like thing. Yes, Turquoise Aquarist. that's one of the excellent places that you can discover more about people that sell online is through videos on YouTube and Facebook and wherever. And you're right, Corey did a great job going to Greg Sage's fish room. But I don't want to gloss over the excellent work that is being done by Mike down in Florida. His family has been in the fish business forever. His father mostly bred different kinds of swordtails and other live bears, but Mike has expanded their collection and the fish that they keep and sell. He does great specials. He does. Hey Charles, welcome to the stream, man. He does great specials where you can get quite a few fish all together because, let's face it, shippers have to pay for the shipping, so it behooves them to fill a box when they ship it and fish it to you. When they fill it with fish and ship it to you. So yes, and Sergeant Tank has some videos in the can about his time with Mike. And Mike is a great guy. He's kind of a wild and rowdy guy, and I love that about him. I love that he's not your normal fish farmer, although I guess I haven't met enough normal fish farmers to really make a judgment in that area. But Mike is a wonderful person, and I would highly recommend that you check out the listings at Imperial Tropicals and that you buy without any reservation as far as worrying about your stock arriving safely or about them taking care of you if something happens to go wrong. I mean, it's shipping. Something can go wrong. The postman can punt your box across the room and water will leak out and your fish will die, so you just never know. But I am sure, without a doubt, that Mike would do an excellent job of taking care of that if that instance happened to occur. And others here can talk about it, talk about their experiences with Mike. Hey Haas, Fish Room, welcome to the stream, man. Good morning to you. Yeah, you're right, Jim. Postmen are ex-football players, or most of them are ex-veterans, so they're not known for their genteel behavior. Everybody, I did a shout out for Fish Room, and his channel has gotten deleted twice since then, but it is back up and running, and I would highly recommend that once again everybody go sub him. We'll see if his channel manages to stay up this time. And just from what I have been able to watch online of his fish room and his fish keeping, I would say he is an excellent fish keeper and someone who we should all keep an eye on. And Fish Room, we're talking about buying online for fish, where we obtain fish at, and I'm sure you can give us all kinds of information about obtaining fish in Korea. And even if they can't ship to us, we can learn by looking at the places. Okay, here is a place that I have bought fish from. It's a very famous place. I think this is Bob's go-to fish store because it's very local to him, and when he's ordering online, I think that this is the place he goes to first. It's the Wet Spot, and wetspot tropicalfish.com is the place that you can log online and look at their what they have in stock. I have bought fish 2 different times from Wet Spot, and I have found their stock to be quite remarkable. Now, I have had a little bit of mixed results with what they told me that they could ship me and what ended up that they could ship me. But I think that's to be expected with an importer and someone who also has a store that's open to the public. They're going to sell every fish they can as soon as they are able to sell them. But my fish came in excellent health. A couple of them were a little stunted, but that's not their fault. That's the fault of the importer or the fault of nature. But I think Wet Spot has one of the widest available stock lists that you're going to find anywhere. Vonks, I think Fish Room said that it was good morning time in South Korea. And Fish Room, I'd really love to see you do a video with an English sub where you actually introduce yourself, talk about your entry to the hobby, how long you've been keeping fish, what your aspirations are in keeping fish. I'm not sure if any of this will translate to you very much, but I hope it does. Okay, so I've gone through a list of online sellers that I think are worthy of you to look up, and I've also talked about the fact that I think these are people you can trust. The ones that I've talked about, that I have experience with, that I've studied, I think that these are people that you can count on, and some of them you know well, and I would recommend that you try to get to know people well before you buy, before you trust. And I think that online buying, that's possible these days. Yeah, there is always eBay and Amazon. People sell fish there. Anytime, and Aquabid, anytime that you go to an online fish seller like that, where you don't really know who it is that's selling you stuff, I would recommend that you look at the responses from other people who have bought from them and how they felt about it. Now, I think you need to take that with a grain of salt, because some people are never going to be happy with anything they got, and they're going to complain about it regardless of how good it was. Okay, so I have one other area that I think that we ought to at least touch on before we go to Aquabids and online places like that. I've never bought fish from these people, but I think that it is worth your time and effort to research people that are strictly wholesalers. I know we have Seacrest in Florida that is strictly a wholesaler. They sell to big box stores, they sell to local fish stores, they sell to importers or people that have a large fish business that they run. And I haven't really covered a lot of those, places that are storefronts for big box stores, or big box store like fish sellers online. There's tons of those out there. I think you're probably going to have mixed experience with those kind of sellers. The fish place. There's a lot of them out there. It's worth your time to look. It's worth your time to shop prices on those kinds of places. But what I'm pointing to right now is people that are pure wholesalers. Mainly what they do is wholesale fish. Now, it is possible that you can buy from them, but most of them have a minimum order. Some of them will require you to have a transshipper's license before you can buy from them, because they're most likely going to air freight it into a local airport, and you're going to have that license when you go to pick the boxes up. But it's really interesting to look at the stock that they have available, because in a way you're looking at the future of what's going to be potentially available in your local places that you buy from, because that's where they may get theirs. So I think it's worthy to do that. I think it's important that we actually spend some of our online research time looking at what wholesalers are selling to our local fish stores and other people that buy from wholesalers. Okay, I've got one last thing to cover, and I think this is one that most of you know about, and that's aquabid. Oh, wait a minute. Did I add the S? Let me check real quick. Aquabid, not aquabids. So yes. And I think that Aquabid is a remarkable online forum for hard goods, medications, tanks. It's not quite the same as Craigslist, which is going to be more localized to your area. Oh yeah, I forgot Flip Aquatics. Yes, by all means, Jim. And somebody put the I was trying to throw this list together while I was watching Sergeant Tank's stream, and I have 10 green jade shrimp coming in from Flip Aquatics as of May 1st, so I will be able to. Yeah, I'm sorry that I didn't add Luke Diesel at Flip Aquatics. Anyway, aquabids. You can get some remarkable stuff from some very remarkable fish sellers on aquabids. Now, I would highly recommend that you research out. Yes, after the stream, Laura, I'll put all these up, and I will most surely add Flip Aquatics. Yeah, Robert could possibly be shipping worldwide. He's importing worldwide now, so it's very possible. Now, there are lots of other great fish sellers out there, and I would recommend that you spend some time researching and finding them and networking with local people that you know and networking with people online to talk to them about where they have bought and what kind of experience they had and how they felt about the money they spent. But I'm focused in on aquabids right now because I have bought from the Wet Spot through aquabids. They post. I have bought from Discus Origin through aquabids because he posts a lot of his fish there. And I have bought from Leisure Man. Leisure Man breeds plecos out in California, and he is really remarkable in his setup and in how he breeds his fish. I could only hope to do as well with my L260s. Four of my fish, my L260s, were bought as juveniles. Thanks, Victor. I feel really bad that I've left out tons of people. I'm just trying to give a little overview. We could spend 20 hours talking about it. I mean, Corey, you know, aquarium co-ops would also go into this too. And I think most of you know Corey, Noah Lucas, Noah Sargent Tank, Noah Rob at Flip Aquatics. But I covered some of them just to give an example for people that might not know. But you can get fish from Greg Sage. You can get rainbows from Gary Lang. You can get fish that are really rare and from some of the best breeders that we have in the country and stores on Aquabids. And I think that Aquabids does, yeah, selfish guy, huh? I think if you do your due diligent research, hey Chaz, you need to talk to us about fish shippers and sellers in Peru, because that's what we're going on about here. If you do your due diligent research on Aquabids and look at the references and how people have there's a column for responses from buyers and responses from sellers too, about how they have, what their experience has been with this seller. And I think that's a wonderful way to get to know more about whether this is some person that you should trust. You know, I have bought from Crazy Florida Betas myself on Aquabid, and I had a really good experience with the plants that he sent me. So see, Kyle, it's possible to have a good or a bad experience. Mostly I was talking sleeping baby on your chest. Awesome, Chaz. Well, you could always come in after this gets posted up on my channel and add in stuff about Peru. Pundamilia nairi with auratus. Now, I've got to admit, every Sunday is kind of happy. You're stepping into an area that I cannot really make a cogent comment about. If Bob's listening, he can maybe tell you something, or if someone else has had experience with this fish. Ah, Chaz, enjoy them while they're young, man. Hang on, I gotta let the dogs in. I see my dinner is ready. This is an older background stream. No, she didn't move it. I was filming for one of my videos. What keeps me motivated to continue with the hobby? That's an excellent question. Every Sunday is kind of happy. I've always been fascinated with science. I try to keep abreast of almost every type of science that I can that holds any interest to me at all. I'm not a brain surgeon nor a astrophysicist, but I try to keep my mind active. I try to, my personal experience of life in these 62 years is that when you quit learning, you're already dead, whether your body's dead or not. You need to keep learning. Fish keeping is a remarkably rewarding hobby. It's something that gives me great joy. It also delivers great misery and high expense sometimes. But it's not hard for me to want to be in the fish keeping hobby. I find it easy to stay motivated. Timothy Michael asks, best thing to take a scratch out of a glass tank? Well, I'm not sure that there is a way to take a scratch out of a tank in tank while fish are in it, but I think it is possible to buff small scratches out of glass. I'm not highly experienced with this. I've never really been too concerned about scratches in my tanks. It's only lately that I've even really cared about what the front of the glass looked like because I was trying to film. So I get in there and clean. I tend to want to let my tanks get just as wild and covered with algae and microfauna as possible. I'm not a clean freak by any stretch of the imagination. And as I've studied and learned in this hobby, I've discovered that a lot of people think that fish breed quicker and are happier with a dirty tank, that it's dirty water and dirty tanks that fish enjoy the most, that they thrive in the best. What African cichlids do I recommend? The only African cichlid besides West Africans that I've ever kept, and I assume when someone says African cichlids that they mean Rift Lake cichlids, and the only Rift Lake area cichlid that I've ever kept in my entire life is a Malawi eye biter, what they're now called Demichromis compressiceps. They are literally the only Rift Lake cichlid that ever really caught my eye. And I mean that with behaviors, not looks. Flashy looks are something that's never really appealed to me. And I've gotten such a bad taste in my mouth over the years in the hobby and in organizations and in clubs, with everyone being so focused on Rift Lake cichlids, that Central American cichlids and South American cichlids and even West African cichlids and Asian fish really get short shrift in the quote club hobby, because so many people keep Rift Lake cichlids. I know that they are fairly easy to keep, and most people that I watched aren't really interested in breeding them. All they want to do is just have a bunch of flashy males in their tanks. And I'm sure it will lose me subs and people that follow me, but I shy away from African cichlid, Rift Lake African cichlids. Now, if you want to talk about Pelvochromis, dwarf West African cichlids, if you want to talk about catfish from Western Africa, and I can talk about those things because I've kept them, but I am mostly focused on Central and South Americans, both catfish and cichlids and tetras, and I find the array of fish available from those two areas to be so expansive that I don't really need to think about Rift Lake cichlids. Yeah, Chaz, I'm not trying to down Rift Lake cichlids. I'm not trying to say that Hap Nation isn't a great thing on YouTube. I'm not trying to say that Inquisitive Fish Guy and Steve Poland cichlids and KG Tropicals and all those people aren't worthy of our time to watch. But and you can learn a ton from their videos, and I have learned lots from them. I think IFG is probably one of the most remarkable online channels that I've ever run across, because IFG, Inquisitive Fish Guy, both understands the hobby and has had a great deal of experience with the hobby and hands it to you on a plate and gives you real world examples of the things that all of us as hobbyists need to know and can do. And so I would highly recommend him. Rock Hard Cichlid Kennels is an excellent channel. Chef Cooper is someone that I follow. I follow a lot of people that, hey, Aquatassi, welcome to the stream, man. I follow a lot of people that focus on African cichlids, but it's mostly because I recognize their skill as keepers and that I can learn from their channels. So if you ask me what my experience with Rift Lake cichlids is, it's almost non-existent. If you ask me what my desire to experience Rift Lake cichlids keeping, non-existent. I'm just really not interested. But it doesn't mean that you can't learn from people that keep African cichlids, and it doesn't mean that I don't support those people doing what they want to do in the hobby. I'm not downing anybody that keeps African cichlids. I'm just not really terribly interested in doing it myself. Hey, baby. What's the baby's name, Chaz? Hey, baby. Hey, little girl. Hola. Hola. Aquatassi, we're an hour in now, but we've basically run through buying fish, where to buy fish, and where to find them online, different sources that we've found online. Hola, Isabella. And I'm sure, Aquatesi, you can offer up some of your own experiences with different online sellers that you've gone through. And that's basically what I wanted to do. Yeah, Rob, I agree. I just hesitate to say, I'm not really interested in African cichlids because that's a great deal of the viewing public out there, and I don't want to make them think that I dislike them because yeah, every Sunday is kind of happy. That's my experience. That when you mix fish from, I mean, a lot of people just keep one tank and they want to do a community tank and they want to go to the store and see something they like and say, "Oh, let's get that. That's a cool fish. Let's get that." But when you start putting fish from different areas, one, you need to be highly aware of the water conditions and parameters that they require, because even though a goldfish can live in an 80-degree tank, you're basically burning out the life of that goldfish because you're causing it to run so much faster. Great, Aquatasi. Rob, you are more than welcome to do as you see fit. And I think that everyone on YouTube should go with people that they enjoy watching and people that they feel like that they learn from. I think that it is incumbent on the channel that you watch to be both educational and hold your interest long enough for you to watch a video, and for them to talk about subjects that you find useful for yourself. So if I suddenly start putting up carpentry videos all over my fish channel, and I'm no longer talking about fish, and you can care less about the carpentry that I'm doing, and I do plan to do some of those, so be aware that that might happen. But if I reach a point where I am no longer coming across to you in a way that you find functional and useful, then I highly suggest that you move on and find someone else to watch, because it's incumbent on me to keep your interest. Okay, King Lee. Anybody that hasn't already, I would highly suggest that you go check out King Lee's first video. I think it's a remarkable story, and it is another angle of the fish keeping hobby that many of us need to be aware of and to buy. RFB, thanks for coming, man. I hope you aren't a stranger. Well, I kind of got off track here, but I was answering Sunday's question about putting a non-African cichlid fish with African cichlids, and I think it's very important that we keep like fish with like fish for both their parameter requirements, and because in the wild they are more likely to understand each other's language. They will understand the body gestures, they will understand the movements of fish that they are accustomed to being around. So if you put a Cynodontis in a tank full of Jack Dempseys, and that Cynodontis starts getting near the Dempsey's clutch of eggs and doesn't understand the behaviors that the Dempsey is exhibiting in telling that interloper to get away from its eggs, you're liable to lose a Cynodontis catfish that can be quite expensive very quickly. And that's why I say keep like fish with like fish. Because if that's a Central American or South American catfish, and that Dempsey starts head bobbing at it and bursts of speed at it, that catfish is going to understand exactly what's going to happen and move away from that area. Yeah, Aquatassi. I don't think we all have to do exact biotopes. I think that exact biotopes are a wonderful thing. I think it's something we should all aspire to and, when possible, try to do. And there are several different kinds of biotopes out there. There are similar river system biotopes. There are exact location biotopes. Hey, Mark's Art. Welcome to the stream. No, every Sunday, Hillstream loaches are a fairly new import to the hobby. And I think that they are a remarkable fish family and one that I'm highly interested in and drawn towards. But as of now, I have 3 tanks in my house up and running, and I really don't have a biotope type tank set up that I could put them in. I wouldn't really want to put them in my shrimp tank because there's not enough water flow for them. They wouldn't go in my 110 gallon because the fish are just going to terrorize them probably. So I am not likely going to get Hillstream clown loaches in the near future. If someday I get a fish room to work out of, then that's something I would definitely like. Yes, guys, sub each other. Go check out each other's channels. I think the people that you will find in here are wonderful people to go sub to and to check out. So, subbing everyone raises all boats. So I think that our fish family should do that when we can. Give it a second here and see if you guys have more questions. If not, I'm going to make way for Charles and eat my dinner. I've been smelling that dinner cook the whole time this stream's been going on, and my belly is about ready to start growling. Yeah, you're right, Aquatassi. Hillstream loaches require very clean water, and they also require a high rate of water flow. And their eating requirements are kind of specific too. So, yeah, I think you really need to be razor sharp on point with your hobby before you really start trying to keep Hillstream loaches. I'm jealous of those who do. Victor, if it's the Charles that I think it is, he will be live streaming after me, or at least that's what he said he was going to do. And he's the Charles that's in here all the time. Aquatassi, my wife made homemade sauce, and I helped her make homemade meatballs. And she prepared the pasta, and talking about it is tearing me apart. So guys, I'm going to go eat. There's Charles. You're going to go live at 7:30? Well, Charles, I've been going for almost an hour 20 now. and I'm about done. I gotta go eat. So I'm gonna bail out. It's 6:14 here, and oh, Bob, since you're in the room, talk to me about what kind of job I've been doing, stepping in for you. Am I worthy of having filled the slot so far? That's something that kind of interests me. Well, let's see if Bob's going to answer, and then I'll shut it down. I'll be at about an hour 20 then. No, Bob, I'm not doing better than you did. I've got 30 people watching me. You normally have about 400 people watching you. Awesome, Jeremy. I'm glad you're keeping them. I hope very much that they are. I know Rachel keeps them. Rachel O'Leary keeps them. And she seems to have done an excellent job keeping them. Okay, guys. Hunger is outweighing my desire to live stream. Charles, I am always going to try to do my very best to teach anything that I can possibly know to anybody online that wants to listen. And I'll probably be done with my dinner by the time you live stream, but I think the Pacers are playing their last game in the playoffs tonight, so I'll probably be watching it and watching your live stream. Okay, good luck, guys. Thank you for coming by. I'll look forward to seeing you next Saturday, if not before.